How's it going, everyone? My name is Felipe, and welcome to another episode where I'm interviewing some incredible leaders, some inspiring people that have a lot to share. And today, one of my closest friends, Luz Maria Trevizo, is here with me. So welcome, Luz Maria.
Gracias. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very happy.
Yeah, no problem. And I've learned a lot from you over the years. You think it's BS, but I really mean that. I've learned so much in terms of connecting with people, leadership, and just about, even street smarts. I think you have a fascinating story, a story that I think is inspiring, where you came from, where you're at. Can you tell us a little bit about you and kind of where you come from?
I come from a very small, little tiny town in Mexico. It's called Matachic, and it's really wonderful. There's really nothing there. There's not even a street, there's not even like a stop sign. There's not even like a light. But it was really wonderful. I grew up there. When I was 17, I graduated high school really young.
Yep.
And I figure I felt that I could rule the world at my 17. And I just figured I was born in the US and raised, so I had the opportunity, the blessing that I was a dual citizen, but then I couldn't really speak English. So I figure I really convinced my mother to be like, hey, can I just go to the States and learn English? And I'm like, please just let me go for 1 year. And I promise I will be there to study and to learn. My mom was very into making sure that my education and all kinds, very academic. So I promised her, I'm not gonna be here to work only, I'm gonna be here just to study. But my mom, she allowed me to come to the States. And I had some help from here and there, like some people that helped me, but I really arrived in the US with $1,000 and I couldn't speak English. But I thought I was so lucky. And that's what I really feel that a lot of people, I could have been like, they really don't make it. I thought I was so lucky and so excited and everything was new that I was so happy.
So this is you at 17, right? This is you.
Yeah, this is me at 17.
Wow, not even 18.
But then I thought I knew everything. I was completely smart. And the one thing that I loved is I could really fail. And I could do whatever I want because nobody knew me. So I could really make mistakes. And, those were calculating mistakes, right? I could go to a store and practice my English and say something completely stupid. But could still, nobody knew me. So I had the opportunity to fail. And I think that what I really love about my story is that I am not afraid of failure or being embarrassed. And it's really wonderful. I could be really dumb and it will be fine,
That's incredible because, I'm from a small town also in Mexico, so I can only imagine the contrast between you coming here, you don't know anybody, much larger city, and in a more, gossipy town, perhaps. Small town, that sort of thing. It was probably, I can imagine it was very, very empowering when it comes to taking those leaps.
Yes. And also when I moved here, what I tried to do was I really tried to Americanize myself as much as I could. I really tried to learn about the gastronomy and obviously the culture, the music, the writing. So it was not just that I was here to really learn about just learning English, but I was really going at a little bit deeper so I could really understand a lot of, why the Americans had created such a wonderful country. And I was so thirsty and I knew that I had so much potential that I really wanted to tap into that. I wanted to really find out why are Americans they created such a wonderful place. Because to me, at 17, coming from where I was coming, America was like Disneyland everywhere. Everywhere was like so pretty, beautiful lawns. The homes were complete. And when we come in Mexico, it takes 30 years and then you finally complete the house. So for me, it was really important to really get not just the language, but the American mentality. And now I have both. And I really feel that they're both great. But that's something I really set my mind to do, is to really get into the American mentality.
That's incredible because actually I just finished interviewing another friend of mine. His name is Jay. He's from India, and same thing for him. He was all about learning a little bit about a lot and kind of really working on adapting to the different cultures. He's from India, born in Wales, raised in New York, all these different things.
Oh, yep.
But I see such a, a similarity in terms of that hunger of culture, of connecting with people, really takes you to, I guess, to your goals, if you will. My question is, where did that confidence come from to be able to take those risks and even not only to take those risks, but that confidence to be curious as opposed to scared?
That's a really great question. I really don't know. And I really feel that it probably just comes from my mother.
Yeah.
Because I always knew, I guess I've always kind of known that I have a lot of potential.
Right.
And my mom allowed me kind of try a lot of things when I was very young. And I think it really had to do with the really amazing friends that I have. And I've always been surrounded by people that really feel like they love me. And they tell me when I forget that I'm doing something right, like they remind me, it's like, hey, you're not doing so bad yourself. Like, you can be really harsh sometimes with yourself.
Right.
But I think it's just, I've been really lucky to be surrounded by people that, number one, they let me be myself. They allow me to fail, and they build me up. If I make a mistake, they don't completely make me feel terrible. So that way you can really have a really wide range of movement that you want to try something new, you can try it and see if you succeed, and then you can try again. If you fail, you can try again. Right. Because not everything that you have is it comes easy to use. So you really need to have a wide range, like a safety net. And I always feel that I've created a really good safety net for myself. It's not that it just comes, with people. It's just that you have to create the relationships, and you really need to be humble to ask for help and ask for advice. And one of the things that I do remember now when I was really young was really asking and learning from other people's mistakes. And then I will do is I learn from other people. I can see, it's like, well, this person did this and look how they ended up, So I was kind of a little bit judgy.
I was like, that's a little gossipy, yeah.
A little bit gossipy. But then I really was very observant. And, if you see somebody that's doing something that you want to do, just ask them. It's like, hey, how did you get there? How did you apply for this? What do you think? It's like, what do you think about my resume? What do you think about my style? What do you think about the way I communicate? So that's really important.
And I think you took that as well as you went through your university experience, right? You were very much using your connections to learn more, get ahead, and that sort of thing, right?
Yes, because the way I saw it, if you already are able to be with someone that's 3 steps ahead, you can ask a quick question, and then you suddenly are 3 steps ahead. So it's just really easy. I'm a very practical person. I don't like to work. I mean, I like to work hard, but I like to work smart. And I want to make my life enjoyable. So one thing I always felt like, well, if this person like you're a great communicator, you're fantastic. So I really, when we were younger, I loved going out with you because I felt that we both would go into a place.
Younger, that was 2 months ago, Luz Maria.
Yeah, months ago. And then suddenly we were friends with everybody at the bar. And then suddenly we just had so many connections made so quickly. So it's just like one of those things, like you kind of gravitate to people that you find interesting.
Right.
And you just have a great time. At the end, you also have to have a good time.
Nice, yeah. So when it comes to, all the different leaps that you've taken, how did you combat the imposter syndrome? How have you been combating the imposter syndrome that, we all have as you start something new, or you start something at a higher level, quote unquote higher level, just different than what you were doing before.
Yeah.
How have you been adapting to different roles and not feeling like an imposter? Or even if you do,
sometimes you're always gonna feel like an imposter. So if anybody watches this interview and they always feel like an imposter, always know that you're gonna feel like that for a little bit of time. And then you realize that, wait, you're actually doing the job, so you're really not an imposter.
So you gotta be okay with that discomfort, right?
Yes.
That
so
feeling
you
of
have
fear,
to be
anxiety,
okay,
whatever it is.
And that's what I keep telling you. It's like, you have to be okay to fail. Because I think that when you have the imposter syndrome, you really feel like you feel so stressed out. It's like you don't want to fail because they're going to find out that you're really not that smart, or they're going to find out that you're not really qualified for the job. And then suddenly you fail. And then what happens? And then you were like, oh wait, I didn't get fired. I can learn from my mistake for sure, but then you just move forward. And that's what I keep telling you, is like, you need to have a safety net to fail, because that's when you really are going to be okay with failure, and that's how you move forward. And that's what I really always tell my team. It's like, if you really screw up, like really screw up really big time, like don't screw up a little thing. The stress is going to be the same. So might as well try something really big. And I think that for me, that was something that I always scared. Like, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to go for the big job, and I'm going to fail, and I'm going to ask for what I want, and I'm going to ask for something, because I have a no anyways. So if I'm going to fail, and I failed multiple times. I got rejected from so many jobs, but so far, the more I ask for, the more I get.
And I think you've taken that. I think you've taken that to different areas of your life as well, right? In terms of knowing what you want, being okay with, feeling worthy of it. Can you kind of give different examples of how you've applied it in different areas?
Yes. Well, number one, my job, right?
Yeah.
I'm very career driven. So I've applied, I think my first thing, like I applied to a job that I was not qualified to do. And then they required me to have a master's, 5 years of experience, blah, blah, blah. Here I come applying with no master's, no experience. But then I got the job, and I was late, and I ended up coming back super late in the back of a motorcycle because my car was like late. But the thing is,
you went to hold on. You went to the interview in the back of a motorcycle?
Yes. So here I am, like so professional. I used to live downtown.
Yeah.
I go to my parking, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like be there super early. I'm gonna look so pretty, so professional. And then I remember that I go to my car, and the tire is just like, I have a flat tire. So then I contact my ex-boyfriend and say, hey, can you give me a ride? He was like, a ride? Like this was like pre-Ubers. But then he was like, well, I don't have my vehicle here, but I have my motorcycle. So here I am in a pencil skirt in the middle of I-70 in a motorcycle. And then I remember I got to the interview, and how my hair just kind of like, I remember I got to the interview, my hair was so messed up. I couldn't even put like anything. I mean, I looked like a disaster. But you know what? I told him, it's like, I apologize. I am late. This is what happened to me. And I had to ask for a ride to come in a motorcycle. So I apologize. Okay, let's get through it. And they probably felt so bad for me, because it's like, this just poor girl, just kind of so embarrassed. And I look probably like crazy person, but they liked me, and they knew. And that's the thing, is like, they probably knew that if I was willing to make a fool of myself to get the job done, or to show up to the interview, they knew that I was going to work really hard, and that I was the right choice. And I was hired.
Wow, that's incredible. It kind of makes me think. I was talking to another friend, and he just like you, he does a lot of hiring now. And he says, yeah, we have, when we put together a position, we have, definitely a mold of what we want, but it's not exactly what we want. You know, if someone comes in and is maybe very different in what we put together in the job description, we'll probably go for that if it is something that's better than what we put together. It's just a kind of a map for us to follow, but it's not what we want specifically.
That's exactly right. And then also, that's what I always just tell everybody. It's like, you just have to apply for the job, whether you don't feel 100% qualified. And one thing that they say is like, women, they apply for jobs when they are 100% meet the qualification, and men, they apply for the job when they meet like 60%. So that's another thing. It's like we just put a lot of restrictions on ourselves. And I really try not to put many restrictions on myself. I would like to simplify my life, make it very easy and comfortable, instead of being really intense, and also knowing what you're worth.
Absolutely.
And just asking for it. You don't have to demand it. You don't have to be rude about it, but just having a quick conversation and say, hey, this is what I bring to the table. This is where I will feel comfortable with my salary, and just negotiating. And I also feel that brings a big point, is I really see myself as like, I'm doing okay. But then my girlfriends, they're just so afraid of asking. It's like, it's when you're thirsty, you ask for water. Why can't you just not ask for a higher salary?
Why do you think that is when it comes to women? And
Uh,
in addition to that, what are some of the other challenges that women face socially, in the workplace, and so forth? And what would you speak
to be
about that?
honest, that would
Yeah.
be like a conversation that will never end.
Yeah.
But I really would like to summarize it as
Sure.
it's just how they've been taught, and that's how they've been made to feel that they need to be really careful and really quiet and not to
Mm,
speak up. And when you're just quiet, you're prettier. And I think that's just, overall society. Like we're not supposed to be really like aggressive. And they're correct. We should, like, now that I've done through a lot of things, I really feel that you don't have to be aggressive to get what you want or get what you really, just to get your needs met. You don't
mm,
have to be rude. But sometimes the problem is when I was out of college, I
yeah.
was in a class when a lot of my classmates were men. So I didn't have any other role models. All my professors were men. So when I was giving a presentation or the manners that I speak, they were always modeled after a man. So I could never really figure it out. It took me
Mm,
years to really figure out how to be really soft. And I tested this one day and I figured I had really to deliver really bad news to the team. I had to cut the budget by like $4 million. So people are not going to be happy. That means a lot of,
yeah.
hardship in a lot of people.
Yeah.
Uh, but then what I thought was like, I'm gonna dress in like a black suit, gonna go there, deliver the news, be very like a man. But then I figure they're gonna eat me alive if I just do that. Instead, I dress in a hot pink, very feminine, and I told them just the same way I'm telling you. It's like, hey, I really have to make this cut. This is what we need to do. I explained
Hmm.
the reasons why,
Yeah.
and I was very like, it's like, I am so sorry. At the moment, if our financial, position it gets in a better state, I will try to really bring up the your budget up so that you can have more spending money, blah blah blah. But it was like, if I would have delivered the bad news as a man,
Yeah.
it would have gone horribly. But because I
Wow.
had to deliver the news, like I'm talking to you, then people were like, okay. I was so shocked when I gave
Wow.
the news. I'm like, oh. And so that's something that it brought me, that we need to really have more people and more women in position of power, but no women, they act like men in position of power.
Mm,
We need to
yeah.
be really, we need to be really outspoken. And if we're feminine, and if we want to talk about nail polish, and if we want to talk about we just got our hair done, we should be able to do it, and we should
Mm,
not be ashamed of being feminine. um, it's the same thing. I really try to be in my office. I really try to be just myself, not overly do the feminine thing, but not be so masculine. And I think that for so many years in my career, I was trying to be like a guy.
overcompensating on getting into the
Yes,
masculine energy,
I
right?
was really hard on
Yeah.
everybody, and I was mean and, very like, and there's no point. So that's something I think is really important to do. Just kind of, just be yourself.
No, absolutely. Shifting gears a little bit, what inspires you? Who inspires you? What really motivates you
I'm gonna be like,
when
I'm gonna
you're,
be like Snoop Dogg. I'm gonna
yeah,
thank
all right.
me because I work so hard. Me, for
There you
her
go.
little video.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna give thanks to myself for working so hard.
There you go.
And I know this sounds a little bit like selfish and a little crazy, but to be honest, it's the truth. I think that the only
Yeah,
person that I owe anything is myself.
yeah.
And the only person that I need to make proud is myself. And, comparing, like you and I were talking, it's like comparing us to 5 years ago, 10 years ago,
Hmm.
I've come a long way and it's been really painful. But at the end, I just have to be comfortable with and proud of myself. I really feel that I do love like the way my mother has
Hmm.
really shaped a lot of the ideas.
Yeah.
She's a single mom and, very strong, really wonderful woman. But at the end of the day, what really inspired me is just knowing what I'm capable of doing and figuring out what else I can do for the world or myself or my friends. So
Well, I guess here's a more accurate question. What gets you in that inspired mindset or mood?
I don't, I,
Is that a
knowing,
tough one?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
You know what it does?
Yeah.
Knowing that I
Knowing.
could do better. I just have sometimes here something in my stomach that I know that I could do better. And when I get that feeling that I'm like, if I turn...
It's not the Choco Krispies that you eat sometimes?
The Choco Krispies, yes.
It's fire. It's like, that's how it works.
The Choco Krispies. No, I really think it's just something in my belly sometimes that I know. It's like your work ethic. Like, I really feel terrible turning something that is not up to my standards. There's always room for improvement. And I really battle with really trying to be too perfect and then not too perfect. But what I do is doing the small, very gradual changes. Like when you do an executive summary, maybe your first executive summary is really crappy. But the second one is not as crappy. So immediately you start improving on little things and you learn and you add something new, you improve. And I think that that's what I really like. That's what really makes me happy. It's just, I don't like to do anything too drastic. And I think that's what before I used to be like, I'm going to be on a diet and I'm going to be on a diet today. So the next day I was like starving and then I would break the diet,
Right.
And it's the same thing with life.
So more progressive in terms of
just very progressive. It's just like tiny little steps. Like, wait, instead of eating like, 14 Snickers, I'm going to eat 12.
That's it. That's 2 less. Yeah, that's good.
That's what I'm eating currently. So, it's just a little tiny things that you really need to be able to do, because that's the way that you fail. Like if you just go like cold turkey or one extreme to the other one, you're gonna fail and you're gonna feel terrible. At least for me, I like to do very small. Like I started reading, I'm gonna read 1 book a month. And then I was doing really well. I said, actually, I really got into this new thing. I'm going to start reading 2 books a month.
Yep.
And then now I don't even know how many books I'm reading because I'm just kind of going through and devouring them. And now I don't even keep track. I just like go through them. And
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like even like, working out and that sort of thing. You start with something that may seem insignificant compared to other people that are doing it for years. But I can tell. Yeah, that's
this is like
COVID muscles.
This is one. Una lagartija. What is the name?
Push up. Yeah. One of the ways that we've connected so well was that we've both gone through some challenges and we've been there for each other. How have you dealt with yours and really created mental, spiritual growth for yourself through those challenges?
I will say it's the same thing. Like you just kind of need to know yourself and your boundaries and just ask for help when you need it. And I've been really open with everybody. It's like when that moment that I couldn't deal with it anymore, I like really asked for professional help. I still go to therapy and I really love it. It's been over a year. It's going to be 2 years now in January, February. I think it's going to be 2 years. But the first year was horrible. Just going through therapy was horrendous, but at the same time was really incredible. And at the same time is what I was saying before is really being really aware of the people that you surround yourself with. And really, and before I used to have so many friends and I was like, I love to, know everybody in Denver. I love to know everybody. I mean, it was crazy. You were part of that little thing.
I was one of the instigators. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You definitely were the instigator. But then it really having somebody, and you were a huge part because we could go out and party and kind of forget, but then also somebody kind of keeps you in check and be like, hey, that's okay. You kind of like sometimes will like reprimand me in like private. You were never rude, even if I was being ridiculous, like in public, you never made any comments or made me feel bad. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, you really need to you need to surround yourself by quality people, no quantity. And that's something that is very hard to find. So you really need to be very selective of the people that you give your time. And when you're really young, you don't do that. You want to just have the most friends, the most likes. You just want to appear that you have this perfect, life.
Yeah.
And you can still have it, but you just have to have a few friends that you absolutely trust. And somebody that when you do really well, they tell you, hey, you did really well. And when you do something terrible, you're like, they tell you, it's like, you need to cut it out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And I really been really lucky because I really feel that one of my friends that was able to do that. You were an enabler in a lot of things, but sometimes you're like, hey, you are completely like being ridiculous, or like you
Yeah.
just kind of doing this little pity party a little too long, you know? And,
No,
and I remember that.
yeah.
So I really appreciate when you were there for me. But like I said, like I think that I consider you part of my safety net.
Mm. No, it's funny that you mentioned all that stuff. I was definitely, you know, especially when I was hosting events and all that sort of thing, I can relate to all that. I mean, I think for me, it was a moment realizing all that stuff. It was a moment where, you know, I threw a party at my apartment in downtown Denver, and everybody left, and I felt so empty because for the longest time, I mean, for me, from high school, even college, it was like I was never really that guy, right? I was like, oh, you know, I want to be popular, I want to be well liked, and I think most people have that. We all want to, you know, some sort of attention, and so, you know, you read about it and all that kind of stuff. But for me, when that moment hit, it was like a very real moment of, wow, I'm wasting my time, and it was a very extreme thought at that point. I have a little bit of a different perspective now. But yeah, it was like everybody left and I'm feeling they're empty. I'm feeling like it was all very superficial. I'm feeling that way. And I think now that I think back about it, it's kind of like you say, I think nothing wrong with that, as long as you keep a perspective of who is in your, I guess your circle or your safety net of friends that are that close to you. And then the other stuff, it's like, I don't know, it's like if you're eating healthy most of the time and then you eat tacos or pizza another day, it's cool. As long as you keep a perspective of what's healthy mentally for you. I think that's important. But when you make those specific, I guess, friends or experiences, the meat of it all, I think that's when you cannot lose yourself. And that certainly was the case for me as well. Yeah.
No, and I remember, I think we probably were going through that at the same time. And then also another thing for me was I always knew what to say so that people liked me. I was so good about like gathering, but then I was not being really authentic. That was not really what I felt. I knew I knew the right thing to say. I knew the when to smile. It was very easy. Like that was not something that I really struggled being liked. But then also I was not being really authentic to myself, because sometimes I would like go to some event and it was just such a waste of time and I would just be there. And other times I should have been more like, no way, I'm not going to that.
Right,
and I should have, like in hindsight, I should have done a lot of different things. But that is, you know, that's what happens. I learned my lesson now. But, you know, I really feel that once you start really, the main thing is you really have to take a look inside yourself and don't get the validation from anybody else. The moment that you start doing that, it's painful. And that's a very lonely road. But the moment that you start liking yourself and really being okay with you being alone, you still have a lot of friends, it doesn't matter. But that's when the real change happens. And that's when the universe, or whatever we call it, starts bringing you everything that you want. I was really surprised because I was just thinking, I'm doing more of like the spirituality. I always felt that my little say was, I always get what I want because I always think I'm going to get what I want. Yeah. And it's very like, and I've said that my whole life. But then for a few years, I was really not getting what I wanted. And it's because it was like, Jesus Christ. But I finally got that back because I'm going through some things and things are happening for me.
So when you say that, by the way, when was those years? Was it when you were going through some rough times with the loss and everything?
Yes. Those years were like nothing. I couldn't catch a break.
You know what I remember, by the way, Luzma? I remember being at the terminal bar in downtown, and you know, we've been hanging out for years, and I see you rolling into a place and just taking over and being the life of the party and all that. And I remember, and you were going through a lot of grief during this time. I remember the way that the guy behind the bar reacted. It was like I was like, holy shit, what is going on?
He was rude to me, right?
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah. And I mean, if I didn't have, like, for me, one of the things that I do, I always test my energy, and I have like a little bit of a feedback loop on how people are reacting and where I'm at mentally. And for me, that was shocking for me, because I was like, all right, you know, you're obviously very beautiful. And I was like, well, this guy's going to be like, hey, you know, very super friendly. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, because it never happens. I usually get like free drinks, get this, I don't have to wait. But then it was like I remember that. But then that was just like, and that's when I'm like, I can't say that my favorite saying, things are not going my way, because I really crumbled, and I had to really, and honestly, I'm still rebuilding, but I'm rebuilding a lot strong foundation than what it was before. Because before it was very superficial. I still always feel like I never knew that I couldn't do a lot of things. So for me, I never had it in my mind that I couldn't do it. I knew it was going to be a little bit difficult or annoying or to take time, but I always knew, like, especially like on the financial side, I was like very quick to like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to move to this position, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to do this. On that regard, was very easy. And especially with like, I'm going to like make this guy fall in love with me, and I don't like him anymore, I'm going to make him fall. So it was very easy, but at the same time, it was not right? Because I was not really doing it with taking people's, feelings in consideration.
Into account,
But now I do.
No, I mean, I think we've both changed quite a bit. As we always talk about this, I think.
Yes.
That how we butted heads the first time we met.
Yes, because I thought that you were a womanizer, and you were a womanizer. Correct. Don't even lie about it. You were like the biggest womanizer.
Yeah.
And I do remember that. Just like saw this, and it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is such a jerk. I just couldn't believe it. And then the poor girl, I just ended up like having so much sympathy, and it was like, this girl should just really dump this guy, and you were just like poking, like just. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, no, and for me, I was like, wow, okay, I see the game that she's playing. I see what she's doing. I'm gonna poke at her and just.
Yes. But I just felt like you were, you just were just a Don Juan.
Now, I guess where you're at now in terms of your career, personally, and everything, what has been your biggest lessons? Yeah.
Never do anything so other people like you, and I really spent a lot of time in the past doing things so other people would like me. Having the parties, spending things, doing things for others that when I really didn't want to do other things for others, and just be really authentic. If you really like something, and say like cartoons, I love cartoons. And before, if I was in a very elegant situation, somebody asked me, I would try to think of like, what's your favorite thing? Oh, I really like this book about so-and-so. When in reality, it's like, no, I really love watching the Kardashians. Murder me for that. But just really be you, because the more authentic with who you really are, more people are going to respond to that, because that's your real energy. You really want to vibe with people that have the same energy as you. So just don't try to be anybody else. And that's the biggest thing. And also, just have some balls. Just do what you really want to do and speak your mind. You have to speak your mind. You don't have to be rude to get your point across. This is something I would like to maybe discuss a bit. For a little while, I felt that I was so broken, so I started dating people that were also broken, right? Yep. And people that were not the best for me, but then I didn't feel I deserved better.
Sure.
And that was like I was settling, I was really not speaking my mind, and that was really sad, because that I was devaluing myself. And by letting a guy not treat me the way I, deserve to be treated. And I don't like the word deserving, right? Deserving is just brings like, implies that you should get something out of nothing. But if you are with somebody that are not treating you with respect, you just really need to move on and just don't put up with that. So that would be like my biggest things, like just be authentic, really work on yourself so that you have some self-esteem, and just have fun, just be who you are. Whatever nerdiness you have is fine.
How do you work on yourself? whether it be you or something you would recommend. I mean, I think really,
Yeah.
as we were talking, I don't know, I don't think we mentioned it in the interview, but we are talking before this. I really believe in filling your cup in terms of appreciation for yourself, appreciation for your life, and so forth. How do you fill your cup, if you will? How do you feel that self-esteem for yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the main thing will be just to spend some time alone with yourself and feel where you need to be more, where you need to work on yourself. When I was going through the loss, I realized that because it was not only like the grieving process, but then I also lost another person. It was just a lot. Then I realized that I am very strong. I can do things, but I do need professional help. And to me, and not everybody might need professional help, but at that time I was dealing with something so sad that
Yeah.
I did get professional help. And I was so afraid of telling everybody that I would tell at work. I was like, oh, you cannot schedule anything for me at 4 p.m. on Mondays because I have a meeting. And then I was afraid of telling them that I had to go to therapy. But then I realized, I'm like, no, I am someone that other women look up to me in the office. So I'm going to be really honest. And I start telling them, I was like, no, I have to go at, at 4 p.m. on Mondays because I have to go to therapy. And it was really uncomfortable the first few months because everybody was like, are you okay? What's going on with you? It was really awful. But then I realized, no, it's like, there's nothing wrong with me. I just go to therapy because I'm sad. I'm going through a grieving process.
I think when you share those things and when you share yourself authentically, your vulnerable sides, it loses a lot of the power over you, and it loses
Yes.
the shame. And
Yes.
because grief is one thing, sadness is one thing, but if you add to that layer shame, then that doesn't allow you to deal with it fully.
Another thing that you could do to is just read a lot.
Yeah.
Just really go through and ask people what books they read. And that's something that people have recommended me, really wonderful books, really funny books, really weird books, really interesting books, really terrible books. But at the end of the day, it's been really wonderful because I've learned so much from, just doing like the book, like Essentialism, or the book, just random books that I like to read.
You've recommended some good books to me, actually. The One Thing, you recommended that one. That was
yes,
really,
The One
really
Thing.
good. What
Yes.
other books would you recommend that have made a big difference for you?
Essentialism.
Essentialism.
Actually, I can give you my book. I have it here. Essentialism is very similar to the One Thing. The Power of Habit, that was an interesting one. I'm really getting into like Joe Dispenza and like meditation. He takes a very scientific approach
Visualization,
to it.
meditation, that sort of thing, right?
Yes. So he's very, but
scientific.
He's very scientific about it. So I really enjoyed that aspect of him. But yes, just read just read as much as you can, and not read because I do like the Audible. So whenever I'm reading, I'm cleaning the house, I just put them on. So I think that that's something that I would really recommend everybody to do because it really changes your mind so much.
Yeah.
And it really helps you. Oh, I'm dealing with like abandonment issues. So I read a lot of books about abandonment and how that triggers me and how really affects my relationships. And it's been really painful, and I would not recommend it unless you really want to be, unless you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And to really face your fears. And for a long time I was avoiding it, but it's true. That was something I had to work in therapy. And one thing is that you go to therapy, but another thing is that you really have to put in, like, do your homework.
Yeah.
1 hour a week or whatever is really not going to do it. You really have to put a lot of things in practice. So over the summer, I was kind of really dealing with a lot of understanding the abandonment and the grief cost and other abandonments. So it was very interesting and really wonderful summer, especially because right now I'm like, it's the middle of the pandemic. There's nothing else to do. What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Might as well just work on yourself and just learn about many things that you can learn. And one thing that we haven't really touched on that I think that really makes a difference in my life versus a lot of other women's life is being financially independent. A lot of, and we keep talking about like safety and creating a better version of yourself.
Sure.
But one thing that we need to really touch on, if you are a female that has like $40,000 in student loans, and then you get out of school and you're making just 40,000 a year, you already started your career. So I really want to make sure that everybody takes and understands a little bit of finance, and really making sure that they are doing taking smart investments. And it could be an investing on yourself, but also the way that you spend, because I really noticed like a lot of people, they come from a different background where they're always in a survival mode, and that's something that we don't talk about because of shame. But when you don't have money to pay your rent or to pay your phone or drive, how can you live your best life? How can you become a woman that's really concerned about growing and moving forward? You can't.
Right. Yep.
If you have, so I really like to encourage everybody to really be financially independent, because once you're financially independent, you don't have this, like, so many
Weight,
layers
right.
of stress. They just go away. So make sure that you take a decent, when you're graduating college, make sure that you take a decent paying job. You're constantly trying to you negotiate well when you start your job to begin with. That way you don't start at the very bottom. Another thing is, like, I've never been a woman like that. I love labels. I just don't like to show them. I like the quality of things. And I've always adopted a very minimalist style.
Yeah.
But because I adopted a minimalist style because I was so poor. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd rather have one beautiful dress and have to like wear it and change my shoes that is a really high quality than having, 40 dresses from Forever 21.
Right.
So and clothes are such a terrible investment because you get so tired of them.
Yeah.
I'd much rather spend a little bit of money, and I'm a really big bargain shopper, and I shop a lot of my clothes in thrift stores. It's just, there's just a lot more unique styles. They're really great for my budget, and being financially independent, it will really solve the problems of a lot of women.
So I feel like financially independent just almost equals freedom. It's almost freeing your time. It's like when you don't have to worry about money, when you don't have to worry perhaps all this kind of stuff. And I think it just means freedom, no?
Yes, it's exactly right.
And as you put that money towards that, I don't know, 20th dress, you're putting away your time. You're giving away your time if you're working in that way.
And another thing for me is, like, I've always loved to travel. Like, my main thing for me is, like, I would have a really hard time buying a $50 sweater, but I could spend thousands of dollars on, like, just like a plane ticket. But that's what really made me really happy, because those things I can take forever. The food that I get to eat, and a lot of people are very different. But whatever you invest your money is where you invest your time. And that's what I really want to make sure. It's like a lot of girls, I see them with these really expensive purses, but they never really expanded their mind. And it's okay. But if you get yourself in debt so that you can have a really expensive purse, I just don't do it, right?
It doesn't make sense.
Anything. It don't do anything just to impress others. And that's what it comes back to. You have to be really authentic. People don't care if you wear like a pair of shoes that cost $3. If you're a nice person, you're going to be welcome everywhere. If you're a shitty person, even if you have like the most incredible clothes, nobody's going to want to hang out with you. And it happens all the time. I see it.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know, they just portray this image, but nobody wants to hang out with them because they're so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I guess to kind of go along in terms of what you're talking about is that, there is a whole thing of not doing things for others, not buying stuff for others. And many times it's easier said than done because you haven't done the inner work.
Yeah, that's exactly. When you see that you're doing things for others, so you want to like look good, or for somebody else, that's like the first red flag. This is where you need to do work on yourself.
Right. And so where I was going with that is that, you can try, you can definitely modify some of your behavior once you become aware of those things. You're probably not going to be aware of most of them just because we're blind to our own, behavior and thoughts. And so the best thing you can do to become aware of it is honestly meditation. It is some of the stuff that you talked about, some of the stuff that Joe Dispenza talks about. But when you begin to work on yourself in that way, as opposed to just trying to fix the outside, then it'll be a lot harder for you to fool yourself and or even overcompensate. We talked about, or we talked about, the whole thing about, overcompensating for you in terms of the masculine energy and all that kind of stuff. That can also happen when it comes to, all right, I'm going to stop giving a fuck and I'm going to stop caring, and you move on to the other side and you just become, it's just a version of the same. It's basically an extension of the same inner issues that you have, but on the other side. So best thing you can do is work on yourself, meditate. If you need therapy, nothing wrong with that. Whatever you need to work on yourself and grow, it's what's going to really alter your outside behavior.
Yeah, meditation is really hard for me. I can barely meditate. Yes, I can meditate for like a minute and then I'm already trying to reach for my phone. Like I have a terrible time meditating. So that's why because I'm trying to meditate and learn to meditate, but to me, it's like the most difficult things to do. Like that's something I'm really trying to achieve this year.
How often do you try? And
every day.
Really? That's awesome. No, that's
maybe unsuccessful.
So what do you do and what happens? I guess
just my mind goes somewhere else. I cannot just keep it.
So do you sit down? You focus on your breathing? What kind of stuff?
Yes,
do you do?
And I try to do like one of those like guided meditations, but my brain is just like okay, it's like focus on my breathing, and then I can probably do like 10 seconds, and again my mind. So it's so hard for me to just meditate.
What thoughts pop up? Like what you have to do, work,
everything,
returning a text, all that kind of stuff?
Yes, everything.
I don't know if it'll work, but one of the ways that I found myself to do a better quality of meditation, which is also, there isn't like success or failure there. It's just sit the fuck down and you already succeeded. Like eventually it'll quiet down. But one of the things that I do is I make a deal before. So I sit down, I close my eyes and I make a deal. I go through the things that are going to pop up. And then I say, all right, for this, my family right now is not important. My job is not important. All this stuff is not important. And just put it out and just make a deal that those things are not important right now.
That's a good idea.
So that way that when you get a reason to chase a thought, you probably, as you become more aware, you'll know what those thoughts are. But it might be, turning in that report, or it might be returning that text to your friend or to whatever, your significant other, all these different things, or even family. So at that point, if you're able to recognize that priority and the importance of meditation, as opposed to even your own family, even your own job, even yourself, then
that's a good idea.
It's kind of like, I know you watched Avatar, right? You remember the cartoon?
The cartoon. Let's be very clear, the cartoon.
Yeah,
the Last Airbender,
the movie was a different story. But when the guru tells him that he has to give up all these different things, or worldly attachments, that is the same thing you can do before you go into your meditation. So that way, because it feels like it's not right to give up family. It's not right to give up this. Those are just, that feeling of not being right is the reasons that drive your mind to go and chase those thoughts.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good idea. I'm gonna try it because I do have a terrible time meditating. I try it every day, twice a day. I try my best, especially by the time I'm gonna go to sleep. I really put my little meditation and I try it, and I ended up like, sometimes what happens is I normally just fall asleep really quickly.
Oh, that's good.
Or I'm just ended up like playing a game on my phone. I just discover like the little puzzles from the New York Times, which I'm obsessed.
Really?
Yes.
I could not get into that if I would try.
Then that's a problem, right? Because I go to like the New York Times to read.
Yeah.
But then I just found the games and the puzzles and these little tiles, and it's been so much more fun. But yes. I think it's just like self-growth is the main thing. It's like self-growth and just be really authentic.
No, I
And you're
agree.
gonna screw up a lot. And you know me, I've screwed up so much, and I made so many mistakes. And now I'm like,
I haven't noticed. I was too busy screwing up myself.
yeah, you were screwing up yourself. That's why we probably got
Hey.
along so well for so many years. You're like, let's grow up together. Let's just get really in trouble.
Pretty much,
That was
yeah.
so much fun.
That
Remember the
was a lot of
hot
good
tub
times.
Tuesdays? Hot
Oh,
tub Tuesdays were fun.
I know. Yeah, that was awesome. That was a really nice time with your apartment. It's a really nice apartment.
Yeah, that was really fun. I remember that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing everything you shared. To summarize it, I think believing in yourself was a really big point that you drove across, as well as positive habits, a really positive circle around you. Anything else? Anything that I
No,
have
just be
missed?
really authentic.
Yeah.
The sooner that you can feel comfortable being who you are, the better quality of your life and the better quality of people you will attract.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And yeah,
Thank you
we'll
so much.
catch up soon. Thank you.
Sounds great. Bye.
All right. Bye.